Okay, I'm going to go over a quick cut list for the handle jig for the beehives. Try and make this as organized as possible. So this first piece, number 1, is going to be a 1/2 inch piece of plywood. It's going to be 24 1/4 inches wide by 16 inches. You don't have to worry about your hole for your dado. Once the whole thing is assembled, you mount it onto your saw where it needs to go with your dado all the way down. Turn your saw on, you raise your dado up, and you'll get that nice cut with 0 clearance. That's number 1. Alright, number 2 is a 27 inch 2x4. When you put this whole thing together, this 2x4 is going to be a 1/2 inch lower than the rest of the box because it's flush with the plywood, while the rest of the box is mounted on top of the plywood. So that's number 2. Step 3, you're going to cut 2 21 inch 2x4s. And those are going to be on the inside of the box. Out of those 2 2x4s, you're going to measure 3 inches from the outside. You're going to do a 3/4 inch dado cut, 3/4 of an inch deep. Those both face in. Alright, step 4, you're going to cut 2 15 3/4 inch wide 2x4s. Then you're going to do your dado cuts on those. The first one is going to be 1.5 inches in, 3/4 inch dado cut. Your second one is going to be 3 7/8 inch in. That's your second one. This third one in the middle is just storage, right? So I just kind of threw it on there. So it's 4 inches from this one, and it's 4 1/8 from this one. But this is just storage for when the box is put away. 1.5 inches in, 3 7/8 in. Those are your important ones. So you're going to do all your dados. If you want to make your life a little easier, before you assemble everything on the bottom, throw a nice 45-degree bevel across everything. You can't go all the way because you're going to have something to screw to. But you know, just take a little bit of material out. And that's going to help you out, because then when you're doing all your cuts and your sawdust is building up, your sawdust is going to have a place to evacuate to, and so you won't end up with a little bundle in the corner that throws off any cuts. I actually haven't had that happen yet, so maybe I'm just lucky. Alright, I forget what number step we're on, but we're just going to keep going. Next, you're going to have these 2 pieces. We're going to start off with just the back pieces, and these are identical. So you're going to get a 3/4 inch piece. It's 3 1/2 inches tall to match the 2x. You're going to cut 2 of them at 22 3/8. Out of those 2, you're going to measure in 3 1/2 inches from the outside. You're going to do a 3/4 inch cutout, 50% of the material. So 1 3/4 inches tall. If you'll notice on mine, I did 1 on the bottom and 1 on the top, and it was just because I wasn't thinking, and it was not the right move. If you do them both on the bottom, if you're going to do them on bottom, do them both on bottom. You can do it top or bottom, but just make sure they're the same. That's going to help you out. Also, I say 3/4 of an inch wide, but these are actually 7/8. I made everything fit together loosely, right? So you have 3/4 inch piece that's going to be fitting in there. So if you make it 3/4, you're going to be fighting it, right? So make your 3/4 inch lines, cut the lines. So now you have your piece, you have your cutout. Don't worry about your holes, you can put them in whenever and wherever. So now you're going to make a bunch of 1/4 inch deep cutouts for your little guides here. Your first one's going to be 3/4 from the outside. Do your 1.5 inches. Your next one's going to be 2 1/4 inches in between. That's your 1.5 inches. Your next one's going to be 6 1/4. Then their last one's going to be 6 1/4 again. That actually leaves you with just 5/8, but again, right? So I cut 1/8 of an inch off of this, which is already included in this measurement. Look, 22 3/8. It was 22 1/2 in the actual measurement, but I made it 1/8 of an inch shorter, right, because we want everything to fit loosely. There's the 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so you have both of your pieces. You have all your little cuts right here. So next, you're going to make these blocks. And I have them backwards because my measurements are on the other side. All right, so we'll start with this one. This is the shape you're going to do for your shallows. Your block is 3 inches tall and 2 1/4 inches wide. On the top is going to be convex to about 1/3 of the way down, and then you're going to start a very gradual concave. Right? So get a good picture of that. This doesn't have to be spot on perfect. You'll probably make one that works better than mine. So that's the shape. Your next block, this is for your deeps. Still going to be 3 inches tall. But these ones are 2 1/2 inches wide on the bottom. Start off flush on top. And it's going to be gradual, and then it turns abrupt at about halfway down. And the whole thing is concave. And on the bottom you end up with 1/8 of an inch piece there. There's the shape that worked for me for the deep. There's the shape that worked for me for the shallow. So you cut 4 of each. Might want to do 5 just in case one splits when you're screwing them all together. Screwing on the top, screwing on the bottom, screwing on the top, screwing on the bottom. These are all just drywall screws, right? I didn't put that much effort into this, so just screw it in. I took a grinder to the backside. Right, so that is those 2 pieces right there. Your next one is going to be a 22 5/8. Right, from the outside, you're going to measure 3 7/8 inch in. And you're going to do your 3/4 inch cut, 50% of the material. Again, can't stress it enough. Make it 7/8. Just make life easy. All right, and that's all there is to this one. You know, you just put the holes in there wherever. Your last piece is this one. Mine broke, but it's not really a bad break because that piece actually wasn't necessary. This one is going to be 14 3/8 overall. We're going to make a note. I have one on top, one on bottom, next one's on top, because I messed up with these pieces. If you make those on the same side, then you'll have all of these on the same side. And when you're putting the box together, you won't have to mix and match. Just please do that. Make everything nice, because this sucks right here. So 3 inches in from the outside, do your first 3/4 inch cutout. Next one's 4 inches over, do your next one. 4 inches over, do your next one. That leaves you with a little 3/4 inch piece right here. Just do yourself a favor and just cut it right off, because it's going to break off like it did. Alright, so now you have all your pieces here. Alright, so everything fits together. Imagine if this wasn't sloppy and loose. That'd be real hard. Alright, so now that's the arrangement you use when you're doing your deeps. Then when you do your sides on your deeps, then when you're doing your fronts and the backs, you put this piece in, right? And that leaves you with this one centered on there. You have a guide right there. All right, so that's why this is kind of weird right here, because that's your outside one for your sides. That's your outside ones for your fronts and backs. Note here, notice the two centers. This is the center for your fronts and backs. This is the center for your sides. You have to mark both of them, and then you have to mark your fence on your saw to where you want them, and you have to move the saw or else your handles are all going to be offset. Right, so we have that one in there. There's your shallow piece. So take this one out. Put your one for your shallows in. See how I have to play mix and match games? It's because I put those cuts backwards. Right, there's your fronts for your shallows. I only have one hand. Because I messed up, everything has to go in one way or else it won't all go back together. So there's that piece. There's that piece. This is where that little 3/4 inch piece originally went, is down in that hole. That's why you don't need it. Because it's going to be plenty of material there to hold it tight. And like I said, this last one is just for storage when the whole thing's being put away. Right, and so look at how loose I made that one, right? Just storage. Made it so it covers up my hole. That's the whole thing. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask, and I will do my best.